The Pariah Nexus, a chronicle of desolation and quietude.
Spanning across a vast stretch of the cosmos, the Silent Zone stood as an enigma, a region from whence no signals emerged, drawing the strategic focus of the Ultramarines Primarch, Robout Guilliman, from across the galaxy. To the Imperial detachments dispatched to plumb its enigmatic depths, it initially bore the title of the Nephilim Anomaly, later to be recognized as the Pariah Nexus. Within the upper ranks of the Imperium, not even the Lord Commander, with his unparalleled mastery of data and structure, could initially comprehend that the Nephilim Anomaly was merely a precursor to a multitude of Pariah Nexuses. With the advent of the era Indominus, as the shadowy veil of the Noctis Eterna receded, psychic pleas for aid inundated Terra from the far reaches of the Imperium, intertwining with the sinister speeches of renegade demagogues, alien commanders, and the cries of countless tormented souls. Amidst this turmoil, the utter silence of certain cosmic regions shone as beacons of mystery, with the psychic void known as the Nephilim Sector casting the most ominous shadow. As the Indomitus Crusade's bureaucratic machinery whirred into motion, the Primarch-tasked Fleet Primus's battle group collides with uncovering the destiny of these mute systems, embarking from their gathering points. In Groupmaster Marin, Guilliman chose a commander of unwavering resolve and proven naval prowess. Marin, devout and steadfast, eagerly embraced his duty as the spearhead of Fleet Primus and the bearer of Guilliman's mandate. Before Marin's fleet even neared the Nephilim sector's outskirts, the Vanguard units relayed tales of panic and upheaval spreading across nearby worlds, with prophecies of a looming cataclysm inciting rebellion. Populations tried to escape their doomed planets in droves. Astropathic messages depicted battles raging between Imperial forces and heretic and alien marauders across strategic points, from the Phoborius stars to the pivotal Estabrine system, their skirmishes driven not by conquest, but by a desperate bid to gather resources for escape from an unleashed cosmic horror. Undeterred, Marin remained focused on his primary objective, though he allocated forces to reassert Imperial control over the most afflicted systems. Advancing into the Nephilim subsector from the galactic northwest through known warp routes, the fleet's navigators reported encountering a shimmering psychic barrier as they neared the Silence. Ignoring the crew's superstitious fears, Marin ordered the fleet forward, unwilling to be deterred by tales of void specters or bad omens. What awaited them beyond the psychic barrier, as described by the fleet's sensitives, was a warp stillness so profound it chilled the soul. As they ventured deeper into the Nephilim subsector, Marin divided his vessels into strike teams, steering them towards the realms of Paradise, Zydos, Shentai, and Vertigus. Navigators, astropaths, and seers lamented a deathly chill gripping their spirits, while battle-hardened psychers felt smothered, their abilities stifled, gasping for air amidst a panic that mimicked drowning in a void. Warp drives faltered, demanding increasing power to navigate the immaterial. The crews and warriors aboard began to unravel under the strain, with executions for insubordination or dissent rising sharply. Upon re-entering normal space near their destinations, a feat barely achievable due to the faltering warp engines, they were met with a deafening silence from planets expected to be bustling with Imperial life. The oppressive aura intensified as landing parties descended onto these mute worlds, uncovering ghost towns devoid of any inhabitants. When they did find survivors, they encountered individuals in a catatonic state, victims of an all-consuming lethargy that soon began to afflict the Imperial forces themselves. This enigmatic affliction was dubbed the Stilling by the strategists, a phenomenon without apparent cause, leaving cities and outposts deserted or its inhabitants incapacitated. Violence marked some locations, hinting at chaos before the Silence. It was in the semi-tamed jungles of Mesmach within the Zydos system, and later elsewhere, that the source of this debilitation was unearthed, towering pylons of blackstone, piercing the sky. The unveiling of these structures, as the work of the Necrons, coincided with fierce counterattacks by these ancient adversaries across the sector. Before their confrontation with the Necrons near the Mesmach pylon, evidence had already begun to accumulate, pointing to the cause of the Nephilim subsector's eerie silence. Populations vanished, cities abandoned, and a pervasive spiritual oppression was encountered everywhere by the task forces of Battle Group Collides. Facilities ranging from agricultural complexes to spaceports lay deserted or occupied only by those succumbed to the stilling. Signs of abrupt departure were everywhere, from uneaten meals to inert servitors, their mechanical functions intact but devoid of life. Accidents and uncontrolled disasters spoke of sudden, widespread incapacitation. Not just humans, but wildlife too had fallen victim to this stifling force, adding to the grim tableau discovered by Imperial forces. The Malays spared no one. Soldiers felt an unseen gaze, later succumbing to an inexplicable fatigue. Some would simply stop, standing vacantly until either executed for failing their duties or collected for attempted rehabilitation, though recovery was rare. Even the Adeptus Astartes, night houses, and Mechanicus personnel felt its grip, albeit less so than others. Remarkably, the Adeptus Sororitas seemed largely resistant to these effects. The discovery of the pylon on Mesmog by Ultramarines confirmed the source of the crippling aura. Despite the dangers, Marin orchestrated a massive assault on the pylon, facing numerous obstacles including warp drive malfunctions and the mental collapse of his astropaths. The Necrons defended their stronghold fiercely, with the pylon's defenses repelling even orbital bombardment. Ground forces, especially the Imperial Guardsmen, suffered under the pylon's debilitating influence, with only the Space Marines' tenacity preventing a complete disaster. Further investigations, led by Lord Inquisitor Draxus, uncovered more pylons, each unique and imposing, revealing the vast scale of the Necron threat. Despite severe losses, the task forces also achieved critical victories, notably the assault on Charist led by Ephrael Stern, the Demonifuge. Targeting a key Necron transport hub, Stern's forces, buoyed by faith and martial prowess, managed to breach the Necron defenses, destroying vital dolmen gates and marking a turning point in the campaign against the Necron's suffocating silence. Stern's triumph on Charist marked a pivotal shift, not just tactically, but also in the spiritual warfare against the Necrons. The obliteration of their dolmen gates crippled the enemy's swift reinforcement capabilities, directly impacting the flow of their forces into the battles raging north of the galaxy. This strategic win allowed the Andromedan Blades chapter to lift the siege on Mizaner in the Zeto system and enabled the Kashari Light Yeomanry to escape encirclement on Hethalas within the Shentai system, where the Necrons had nearly cornered them for annihilation. More profound was the revelation that emerged from Stern's victory, the potency of faith as a counter to the Necrons' life-draining technologies. This insight, grasped eagerly by Marin and other devout members of Battle Group Collides, suggested that the pervasive decay could be combated with the fire of belief. Stories began to circulate of stilled soldiers awakening, revitalized in the midst of fervent believers, hinting at the power of faith, whether rooted in the Adeptus Mechanicus's dogma or the Imperial cult's zeal to act as a beacon in the darkest of storms. What remained elusive to humanity's limited perception was the true scope of the Nephilim anomaly, merely a fragment of a grander scheme designed to sever the material universe from the warp forever. This celestial engine, envisioned by the Silent King and executed with the precision of the Necron's most brilliant minds, spanned the galaxy. Its ambition was unparalleled, aiming to erect a barrier between reality and the immaterial realm. Inquisitor Draxus and others within Battle Group Collides could only marvel at the complexity of what they termed a contra-immaterial nodal matrix, a testament to cosmic engineering beyond their comprehension. The Silent King had rallied the intellects of Supreme Cryptex and even the renegade Technomandrites, masters of the arcane and the esoteric, to manifest this vision. To forge the Nephilim anomaly, celestial bodies were repositioned, aligning them into a fractal design of madness, and planets were relocated across vast distances or discarded if they interfered with the Matrix's energy flows. This network, anchored by the megastructure around the Xendu system star and linked by corridors of stellar energy, cast a shadow that stifled warp connections. The Nephilim anomaly was but one of many such constructs, part of a network encircling the galaxy to cleanse it of the warp's taint, allowing the Necrons to dominate the remaining life forms, and perhaps find salvation from their cursed existence of metal and circuitry. The Silent King's vision relied on the might of the Necron dynasties, mobilizing their legions to defend the pylons and suppress any who might threaten or seek to dismantle the Silence before it reached fruition. Through Dolmen Gates, the Silent King monitored the progress of these nodes, occasionally revealing himself to lead the charge against those daring to oppose him in the Nephilim sector. While some dynasties, like the Zarokhan, served out of unwavering loyalty, others followed from fear or the promise of rewards, lending their forces to protect the project and ensure the success of the Silent King's grand ambition. Despite some dynasties, notably the Sautek, resisting his call, the Silent King's political acumen and the strategic importance of the pylons continued to draw support, weaving a complex tapestry of allegiance and power in the cosmic struggle to redefine the galaxy. Despite the loud proclamations of divine favor from the God Emperor following Battlegroup Collide's unexpected triumphs, their victories were overshadowed by a higher tally of losses. Numerous task forces succumbed to the onslaught of the Necrons, fell prey to the devouring embrace of the Entropic Shroud, or disappeared without a trace. Groupmaster Marin found himself compelled to consolidate his forces, drawing them back to a more defensible interstellar line, concentrating on sectors where he could muster several task forces simultaneously. To his detriment, he was deprived of the sage guidance of Inquisitor Draxus, her departure, along with a significant portion of Marin's diminishing resources for her own clandestine mission, left a void. Even without the knowledge of the Silent King's direct involvement with the Necron forces, his influence was swiftly felt. Imperial lines, once held by sheer determination and sacrifice, wavered and nearly broke under the relentless Necron assaults. The alien adversaries deployed horrifying new armaments, against which Marin's troops had no recourse. On the verge of annihilation, Battlegroup Collide's fortunes changed with the timely arrival of a beleaguered flotilla from the Imperial Navy, previously dispatched beyond the anomaly's reach. Their return, alongside reinforcements from Battlegroup Orpheus of Fleet Primus. This influx doubled the Imperial presence in the Nephilim subsector, yet the escalating Necron aggression and the suffocating malaise of the region left many resigned to a grim fate. Marin and his officers restructured their command, integrating the newcomers into their strategic planning. Yet, reaching these reinforcements proved challenging, as they were often dispersed or hindered by the spectral barrier. Communications were severely restricted, reliant on desperate, short-range warp jumps and a network of courier fleets for the transmission of messages. The scarcity of astropaths, capable of penetrating the nebulous barrier, further isolated the Imperial forces. The region's boundary grew increasingly elusive, spreading ominously, prompting some within Marin's ranks to advise a strategic retreat. Marin, however, fueled by faith and obstinance, rejected the mere thought of withdrawal. It was then that epistolary Thengrest of the Imperial Fists proposed a gathering of the mightiest psychers, seers, and astropaths available to send a distress signal through the Nephilim anomaly's veil. This assembly took place on the icebound world of Cherist, a site hallowed by recent victory and the fervent devotion of its conquerors. Despite the pervasive stilling, their combined efforts sought to breach the veil with a potent psychic beacon. Zarek, the last of the Silent Kings and the eternal sovereign of the Necron race, navigates the intricate dance of power with unmatched skill. Freed from the ancient command protocols, he now relies on guile and the formidable presence to assert his dominance, a necessity in a realm where not all acknowledge his rule. Zarek's physical form, a marvel of Necron engineering, towers above his kin, a testament to his supreme authority. His intellect operates at a velocity and complexity far surpassing that of his subjects, his memory unmarred by the eons since the cosmic war in heaven. Zarek harbors the entirety of his race's history, including the pivotal choice leading to their mechanical immortality. While his current endeavors may hint at a quest for redemption, the full scope of his plans remains shrouded in mystery. As Marshal Arnulf of the Black Templars spearheaded a counteroffensive, envisioning the Nephilim subsector as a singular, vast fortress besieged by an alien invader, strategies were drawn to fortify and reclaim. The Imperial forces, emboldened by this vision, launched a determined push against the Necron threat, securing key victories and establishing a network of defended positions. Yet, as their advances met with formidable Necron blockades, the resolve of Arnulf's forces was tested. The relentless conflict, exacerbated by the draining influence of the Pariah Nexus, pushed even the most fervent warriors to their limits. Despite the logistical nightmares and the harrowing attrition, the spirit of the Imperial forces remained unbroken, their determination shining through the darkness. As the battlefront ebbed and flowed, the Imperial forces faced the grim reality of their situation. Their strategic gains were gradually eroded by the inexorable Necron advance. Yet, amidst the encroaching despair, instances of resilience and defiance emerged. Isolated garrisons and fortifications held fast against the tide, embodying the unyielding spirit of the Imperium. These bastions of resistance, though besieged, served as beacons of hope, their survival a testament to the courage and tenacity of the Imperial forces. In the face of overwhelming odds, the defenders of the Imperium stood resolute, their resolve unshaken by the shadow of annihilation. Standing apart from the Necron elite rallying behind the Silent King for their varied self-serving and covert ambitions, Orikan the Diviner pursued his own objectives within the Nephilim subsector, driven by motives he deemed far more critical and expansive. The ex-chief astrologer to the Silent King had witnessed his prophecies falter in alarming fashion. His foresight had been bent, with pivotal moments veering off predicted paths in stark and unsettling deviations. Orikan's efforts to rectify these errors, traversing his own timeline to obscure his miscalculations from his peers, unveiled a disturbing anomaly. He became convinced that a colossal disruption of primal forces had torn through the fabric of his predictions. The source of this disturbance was veiled by tempestuous causal storms, yet with his unparalleled expertise, Orikan traced the fractured timelines to their convergence point in the Nephilim subsector. Once loyal to the Silent King, Orikan's allegiance had long since waned, though he retained a measure of respect for the ruler's campaign against the warp's corruption. Orikan was now certain that an impending event threatened to destabilize the cosmic order, jeopardizing the nodal matrix itself, and he was determined to counter this looming catastrophe, scouring the war-ravaged expanse for clues to avert the dire outcomes his skills foretold. As the tide of war within the Pariah Nexus once again turned against the forces of the Imperium, hope for divine intervention hung by a thread among the beleaguered armies. Amidst widespread chaos, uprisings, and the thin spread of the Indomitus Crusade's might across the galaxy, the desperate psychic plea from Cherist somehow breached the anomaly's outer veil. The message's painstaking journey through the astropathic network eventually reached Robute Guilliman, orchestrating the Crusade's expansive campaigns. Guilliman, with his profound strategic acumen, recognized the gravity of the unfolding crisis in the Nephilim anomaly. Though the intricacies and ultimate aim of the anomaly were beyond his immediate grasp, the necessity to quell the threat was clear. Tasked with urgent strategic priorities elsewhere, Guilliman orchestrated a swift military response, deploying Battle Group Hephaestus from the Indomitus Fleet Primus under Group Master Vigran's command. This force, significantly bolstered by a detachment led by Archmagos Belisarius Call, was tasked to neutralize the Xenos threat and reinforce the beleaguered Imperial lines. Unlike its predecessors, Battle Group Hephaestus's approach to the Nephilim subsector was informed and cautious. Armed with foreknowledge from the Cherist Communique Archmagos Belisarius, Call and his cohort devised elaborate countermeasures against the warp disturbances and the Pariah Nexus's baffling effects. The group's ranks, drawn primarily from the technological sanctums of Mars and Metallica, among others, prepared for the harrowing journey with an array of ancient archaeotech and innovative solutions to shield their warp engines and preserve the sanity of their astropaths and navigators. Despite their efforts, the cohesive strength of Battle Group Hephaestus began to wane as they penetrated the anomaly's periphery, challenging Cal's resolve to maintain unity and purpose amidst the technological disparities and hidden agendas within his command. Cal's vision for overcoming the Necron threat involved the strategic exploitation of Noctilith or Blackstone. Before embarking into the anomaly, he issued the Noctilith Decree, a complex directive aimed at fortifying Imperial strongholds and securing Noctilith resources. Cal hypothesized that counteracting the Necron's pylons with positively charged Blackstone could erode the barrier of the Nephilim anomaly, a plan as ambitious as it was fraught with uncertainty. Entrusting his tech priests with just enough knowledge to execute this daring strategy, Cal embarked with vast reserves of Blackstone, ready to confront the Necron menace with a blend of ancient wisdom and audacious technological innovation. The Aegis fleets of Battle Group Hephaestus, designed as Cal's protective vanguard, were a formidable assembly. Each fleet, comprising a dozen or more warships of varying classes and at least one colossal forge vessel, began their mission amidst the chaos of their scattered arrival into the subsector. Leadership adjustments and new operational protocols were swiftly enacted in response to the separation incidents, with command often falling to the most senior adepts of the Omnissiah. These fleets, bristling with martial might and technological prowess, were tasked with securing and fortifying Imperial holdings near their entry point, deploying vast resources towards the reconstruction and reinforcement of beleaguered worlds. Yet, Cal's directives within the Noctilith Decree carried a controversial edge, prioritizing the acquisition of Blackstone over immediate military aid to Imperial forces. This decision, rooted in a cold calculation towards the greater strategic goal, placed significant Imperial assets under the command of those less influenced by human frailties, thus ensuring a focused pursuit of objectives despite potential moral quandaries. The Aegis fleets, each a self-sufficient bastion of war and industry, embarked on their missions with relentless efficiency. Their initial successes in securing worlds and establishing contact with scattered Imperial remnants painted a picture of a methodical, albeit isolated, advance against the encroaching darkness of the Necron threat. However, the diverse motivations and the inherent autonomy of the Adeptus Mechanicus's leadership began to manifest in divergent actions and priorities. While some Magi aligned closely with Cal's vision, others pursued personal ambitions or deviated from the plan due to philosophical disagreements or fear of unforeseen consequences. This discord, though a natural trait within the Mechanicus, risked undermining the cohesive strength and strategic aims of the Hephaestus Initiative. The Accretion fleets, tasked with the aggressive pursuit of Noctilith, embarked on their mission with a clear directive to secure and exploit Blackstone deposits with all available might. Their composition, tailored for rapid assault and resource extraction, demonstrated the Mechanicus' unparalleled ability to wage war and harness the galaxy's hidden treasures simultaneously. Yet, as the Aegis fleets forged ahead, establishing footholds and encountering remnants of Imperial resistance, the challenges they faced intensified. Necron forces, relentless and seemingly inexhaustible, contested every inch of regained territory. The beleaguered defenders, though uplifted by the arrival of Hephaestus' might, bore the scars of prolonged siege and isolation, their resilience a testament to their unyielding spirit. In this crucible, the Aegis fleet's endeavors were met with both triumph and tragedy. Victories were celebrated, worlds were fortified, and the Imperium's banner was raised anew on devastated landscapes. However, losses were also keenly felt, with entire fleets overwhelmed by the Necron onslaught or forced to retreat in the face of overwhelming odds. Despite these adversities, the commitment to Cal's overarching plan remained unwavering. The pursuit of Blackstone, the construction of fortifications, and the integration of surviving Imperial forces into the broader strategy of reconquest continued unabated. In the shadow of the Nephilim anomaly, a complex tapestry of war, ambition, and resilience unfolded, marking another chapter in the endless struggle for the galaxy's future. The expeditionary forces of the Imperium delved deeper into the shadowy realms of the Nephilim subsector, their mission to harvest the elusive Noctilith crystals, essential for their arcane technologies. Their journey took them through forgotten systems, some expunged from Imperial archives, as they scouted for both known and undiscovered deposits of the precious material. As they ventured further, skirting the edges of the mysterious anomaly stretching to the galactic west and south, they frequently clashed with the voracious Necron fleets of the Mephrit and Nihilak dynasties, who had already staked claims on several of the rich mining worlds. These confrontations grew increasingly fierce as the Necrons, driven by a singular obsession, launched relentless assaults on the Imperial forces. The Accretion fleets, tasked with extracting Noctilith, found themselves under siege not just in space, but on the ground, where their mining operations became battlegrounds. The Necron onslaught seemed inexorable, targeting not just the Imperial ships and soldiers, but the very machinery and personnel tasked with mining the Noctilith, suggesting a desire not just for control, but for total annihilation of the Imperial presence. In stark contrast to this relentless aggression, there were moments when the Necron forces inexplicably withdrew, abandoning their assaults mid-conflict. Such an instance occurred on Theria, where Magos Ordinatus Devidia, facing imminent defeat, prepared to destroy her Ordinatus engine rather than let it fall into Necron hands. However, just as the situation seemed most dire, the attacking Necron legions withdrew without explanation, leaving behind only scattered units to cover their retreat. This unexpected turn of events allowed the Imperium to quickly resume and even enhance their mining operations, a pattern that repeated across various fronts within the Nephilim anomaly. Amidst this chaotic warfare, Archmagos Call began piecing together a theory. Observing the conflicting Necron factions and their seemingly divided loyalties, he speculated the existence of a civil war among the Necrons themselves. This internal conflict presented an opportunity, one that Cal intended to exploit to the Imperium's advantage. Elsewhere, the broader strategic situation remained grim. The AG's fleets, attempting to consolidate the remnants of battle groups Collides and Orpheus, found no surviving senior commanders. Tales of valiant last stands and mysterious disappearances of key figures like Marshal Arnulf and Lieutenant Stornvor abounded, with their fates uncertain. Yet, under the leadership of Group Master Vicraean and Archmagos Cal, and partly due to the Necron infighting, the Imperium managed to establish a tenuous foothold in the Nephilim subsector. However, the anomaly's insidious effects continued to hinder Imperial efforts. Despite meeting some objectives, such as reaching Noctilith harvesting quotas, setbacks occurred with alarming frequency, often due to sudden Necron counterattacks. The Imperial forces found themselves in a constant struggle, not just against the Necrons, but against the anomaly's corrosive influence on their operations. Into this fraught situation entered Inquisitor Draxus, bringing with her a plan to turn the tide of the war. Claiming to have deceived the Necrons into thinking she had withdrawn from the conflict, she sought Archmagos Cal's support for a bold initiative. Draxus believed she had discovered a way to disable the Necron pylons from within, a breakthrough that could potentially shift the balance of power. With Cal's backing, she prepared to launch a decisive strike, promising a glimmer of hope in the darkened expanse of the Nephilim anomaly. The Silent King's reaction to Imhotep's bold incursions was one of icy indignation. He mobilized legions from the Zarakan and Nephric dynasties to counter the Sautek forces on multiple embattled planets. Additionally, he sought the expertise of Orikan the Diviner, hoping that the Seer's chronomantic skills could offset Imhotep's renowned strategic acumen. Despite past tensions, Zarek believed Orikan's insights could be pivotal. However, Orikan, fixated on his own dire prophecies, refused to meet with the Silent King, prioritizing the looming disaster he foresaw over immediate military concern. Imhotep's forces had swiftly seized control of 3 systems in the Nodal Matrix's galactic northeast, strategically allowing the Nephric dynasty's counterattacks to deplete themselves against his defenses. Then, leveraging an ancient Dolmen Gate, Imhotep personally led a daring strike into the Nephilim subsector's far reaches, targeting the Murdica system and its key world, Virgois Alpha. This world was notable for a massive Necron pylon that had withstood all Imperial attempts at damage. Recognizing the threat of Imhotep potentially wielding the pylon's destruction as a symbol to rally further support, the Silent King tasked Nemesis Uthmek with repelling this incursion. Uthmek's forces, having previously thwarted Imperial efforts, now faced a dual front as they attempted to fend off Imhotep's aggressive push. Caught between these clashing Necron factions, the Imperial forces on Virgois Alphic under Magos Cantic Lundkest observed from a distance, recognizing an opportunity as the Necrons turned on one another. This precarious balance was disrupted by the arrival of Inquisitor Draxus and her elite Imperial contingent, backed by the authority of both Cal and the Inquisition. Tasked with striking at the lightly guarded Necron pylon, Draxus coerced Lundkest into supporting her mission with diversionary attacks, while her forces made a direct assault. As the Imperial and Zarek-loyal Necron forces clashed, Imhotep withdrew, collapsing the Dolmen Gate behind him and leaving the outcome uncertain. The subsequent detonation of the pylon by Draxus's forces marked a significant Imperial victory, albeit at a grave cost, as the explosion devastated Virgoi's Alphic and inflicted severe losses on both Imperial and Necron forces. This act of sabotage against the Necron pylon set off a chain reaction across the nodal matrix, leading to widespread disturbances among the Necron ranks and a notable lifting of the oppressive influence pervading the Murdica system. Illuminor Cirrus, observing the aftermath, recognized the potential ramifications of the pylon's fall, both fascinated and outraged by the humans' audacity. The destruction signified a critical shift, prompting the Silent King to declare an all-out extermination campaign against the human forces, abandoning previous restraints on warfare. The Necron response heralded a new, more brutal phase in the conflict, with the deployment of previously withheld devastating technologies now deemed permissible. The humans, having struck a significant blow, now faced the unleashed fury of an ancient civilization, poised to employ the full extent of its terrifying arsenal in a relentless pursuit of victory. As the conflict within the Nephilim anomaly intensified, the tech priests of Cal's expeditionary force came to the sobering realization that developing liminal abrasors was a far more complex and time-consuming task than initially hoped. Despite their unwavering faith in the Archmagos' genius and the invaluable knowledge he had shared, the idea of quickly devising miraculous weapons to dispel the anomaly's influence was gradually abandoned. In anticipation of the challenges ahead, many had wisely brought along ancient and esoteric armaments, hoping these might tip the scales in their favor against the alien adversaries. Unbeknownst to many within this circle, their collective arsenal was of an unprecedented scale and power, surpassing that of any other contingent in the Indomitus Crusade. This cache included legendary war machines from the Centurio Ordinatus, each equipped with singular destructive capabilities, alongside other relics capable of causing geological disasters or manipulating fundamental cosmic forces. While these artifacts were invaluable, they were also steeped in controversy, with some deemed heretical or outright banned by the strictures of the Adeptus Mechanicus. The bearers of these forbidden technologies justified their actions as inspired by the Omnissiah or necessitated by strategic calculations, believing that only such extreme measures could ensure their survival and success beyond the confines of the known galaxy. These potent devices were kept hidden aboard their ships, far from the prying eyes of peers and superiors, fueling rumors and speculation among the fleet. The first demonstration of these ancient weapons' devastating potential occurred when the Lamore system faced a massive Necron assault led by Pharaon Nectaric of the Thoth dynasty, accompanied by the technologically adept Eyes of the Void. In response to the Necron threat, Magos Arati deployed the Ark of Oblivion, a weapon that unleashed a contramolecular shockwave, decimating part of the Necron fleet, but also causing unintended Imperial casualties due to its indiscriminate nature. The Necrons, outraged by this reckless human interference, released a bound shard of Ayashudra, causing chaos and madness among the Imperial forces. In a desperate move, Manipulus Prime Behest activated an ancient and mysterious device, which reacted violently with the Necron weapon, creating a void of darkness that consumed both friend and foe, leaving behind a devastated planet and a lasting legacy of terror and madness. The aftermath of this catastrophic engagement left the Lamore system in ruins, with the remaining forces haunted by the horrors they had witnessed. The use of such formidable and unpredictable weapons highlighted the dangerous gamble the tech priests were willing to take in their pursuit of victory, underscoring the profound and often perilous impact of the Omnissiah's gifts on the war in the Nephilim anomaly. Amid the escalating chaos across the Nephilim subsector, the fabric of reality itself seemed to fray at the edges. Catastrophic events unfolded on numerous worlds, showcasing the terrifying extent of the martial ingenuity and desperation on both sides of the conflict. As the horrors mounted, from the liquefaction of entire armies on Thalcifer to the near destruction of a void-born Necron pylon by a dwarf star gone rogue in the Zan system, it became clear that the war had spiraled into a new realm of devastation. Archmagos Cal, upon being confronted by a coalition of Space Marine and Battle Sister leaders with evidence of these disasters, realized the dire consequences of his neglect. In a bid to regain control, he issued a decree forbidding the use of the Omnissiah's most destructive gifts without his direct approval. However, the Nephilim anomaly's pervasive influence thwarted his efforts, ensuring that his commands either failed to reach their intended recipients or were willfully ignored by those too desperate or arrogant to heed them. As the Necrons, led by the Silent King, observed the vulnerability of their positions due to the loss and damage of key pylons, a renewed focus was placed on eradicating the human threat. This decision sparked a massive offensive across the subsector, with Necron legions deploying their most dangerous and unpredictable technologies in an all-out assault on Imperial positions. The resultant havoc saw entire systems laid to waste, underscoring the Necrons' terrifying power and the dire straits faced by Cal's forces. In this climate of unrestrained warfare, the Scarran system became the epicenter of a cataclysmic event. Myrmidominus Jelf, driven to paranoia by the relentless pressure of the Necron threat and the insidious influence of the Nephilim anomaly, made a fateful decision to deploy Shivarik's constellation, a network of ancient and potent weapon satellites. This act of desperation led to a catastrophic reality breach, as the satellites, unleashed with corrupted directives, created a massive distortion in real space that culminated in the manifestation of Weirwood, a demon world of unspeakable horror, into the heart of the Scarran system. This final calamity, marked by the emergence of a demon-infested celestial body, represented not just a failure of command and control within the Imperial forces, but also the terrifying consequences of deploying ancient and poorly understood technologies in the heat of battle. The resultant shockwave of empiric corruption, the reversal of the warped polarity of the Scarran pylon, and the ensuing systemic disasters highlighted the perilous nature of the war in the Nephilim subsector, a conflict that had now transcended conventional warfare to touch upon the very essence of reality itself. In the aftermath of unprecedented chaos within the Nephilim sector, the once silent expanses echoed with a clamor of unrelenting conflict. The theater of war, vast and unfathomable, witnessed the relentless engagement of Imperial forces against the inexorable march of the Necrons. The beleaguered defenders, comprising Skitarii legions, Space Marines, Battle Sisters, and the remnants of the Imperial Guard, stood their ground amidst the ruins of their strongholds, fighting against odds that seemed insurmountable. Belisarius Cal, from his vantage point aboard the Zarquasitor, faced the enormity of the crisis with a mix of determination and despair. The Archmagos grappled with the fluidity of a conflict that spanned the breadth of a sector, frustrated by the limitations of his command and the destructive zeal of his peers. Despite the urgency of his endeavors to develop liminal abrasors, the path to success remained fraught with obstacles, and time was a luxury they could scarcely afford. Amidst these trials, the calamity in the Scarran system loomed large, its ramifications sending ripples of unease through the ranks of the Imperial command. The emergence of a demon world, a manifestation of chaos, so profound in a sector shielded by Necron technology, posed questions that defied explanation. Cal, beset by concerns over the implications of such an event, awaited solid intelligence to gauge the full extent of the disaster. Yet, in the gloom of uncertainty, a glimmer of hope persisted. News of Rabude Gilliman's impending arrival, with a formidable force, promised a turning point in the conflict. The prospect of the Primarch's leadership offered a beacon of hope, not only to Cal, but to all Imperial forces holding the line against the encroaching darkness. Conversely, the Silent King, Zarek, confronted his own set of challenges. The warp anomaly in the Scarran system represented a failure of his strategies and a breach in the Necron's control over the materia. With his forces in disarray and the momentum of his grand offensive lost, Zarek found himself considering a shift towards defensive postures, a concession that rankled his pride. The escalating tensions with Imhotep and the unexpected alliance between the Stormlord and Oricon the Diviner added layers of complexity to Zarek's predicament. Such developments hinted at further strife and division within the Necron ranks, undermining the unity necessary to face the burgeoning threats. As both sides regrouped and reassessed their positions, the Nephilim sector stood on the brink of a pivotal moment. The arrival of Guilliman promised to reshape the dynamics of the conflict, offering a chance for the Imperium to reclaim the initiative. Yet, the uncertainty of the future loomed large, casting long shadows over the scarred and shattered realm, where every victory was tempered by loss, and every advance was met with new challenges. The war for the Nephilim sector, it seemed, was far from over, with its ultimate outcome hanging precariously in the balance.
If you enjoyed watching this video and found it helpful or entertaining, please give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you don't want to miss out on our upcoming content, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.